Hello and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 25th of May 2026. It's Gary here again. Thank you very much as always for taking the time to join me. Last one in May, folks, and I think we all hoped that May was going to work out a wee bit differently than it actually did. But I guess it wasn't all bad, and I'll get to that in a wee second. But I'd like to just start by wishing all of our sisters and brothers in the United States of America a very happy Memorial Day, which is a federal holiday honouring those who died while serving in the US military. And I guess that's a great segue into memorialising historical events when we had the Scottish FA's key match incident panel rule that, please sit down for this part, folks, ruling that the penalty that mob from the East End got against Motherwell should not have been a penalty. Wow, oof, that is a shocker. Who knew that was going to happen? Oh, every single person outside of Sharkhead knew that was going to happen. Yeah, that's exactly the state of play. And of course, they had to take their time to do that, make sure the season was actually finished before they could come up with that. As I've said many, many, many times, this happens in any country, South America, Eastern Europe, wherever you want to think about, and maybe in the Africas or something like that, in the world. And we would just go, well, obviously, that's just corrupt, isn't it? What these folks are like. And it's through ignorance because we truly don't know what these folks are like, obviously. But that's what we're getting right now. And that's what cost Hearts the league title, unfortunately, which is very unfortunate for them, very unfortunate for Scottish football at large. And hopefully this is the tipping point. Hopefully this is a turning point for more parity to come into the game, because it's beyond a joke. It's absolutely beyond a joke. You know what? I was watching the basketball. I like to follow basketball, especially when it gets to the NBA playoffs, which is in right now. The Eastern and Western Conference finals are going on. And what happens is, I think you get 5 fouls in a game. Now, if you're a basketball aficionado, forgive me if I get this kind of wrong, but there's a certain amount of fouls that you're allowed in a game before you then you have to go and sit down. I don't think you get sent off unless it's a bad foul or there's some sort of violence involved or something like that. And then you have to sit down for a certain period of time, sin bin type style, and then you get to come back on. And I thought about that little runt, Maeda, and I think he thinks he's playing basketball when he goes and kicks 5 or 6 or 7 different people, and then it's his 9th foul in the game, and then the ref's like, okay, I think that's probably enough. Give him an inconsequential yellow card towards the end of the game, and then that's it. That's the type and style of stuff that we're dealing with here, and something has to change. And what has to change is the processes, the procedures, and more importantly, the people have to change, because the existing referee set is not good enough. The cohort that we have right now, maybe some of the up and comers who will replace the existing incumbents who've been around for quite some time, might be the ones that are going to buck the trend and create meaningful change, because change doesn't happen overnight, but you need to firstly acknowledge that change has to happen, and we haven't seen any of that yet whatsoever. So we'll just need to see what that looks like. But as I mentioned briefly at the very, very outset here, we are now confirmed to be in the qualification rounds for the Europa League, thanks to our brothers from the East End of Glasgow beating a diet version of themselves in the Scottish Cup final on the weekend there. So they were kind of torn, I'll bet. We were kind of torn, it felt like. I spoke to a bunch of different people, and some folks were like, conference, I'll take the conference, I don't want them to win it. And other folks were saying, well, I don't know. I talked about it a wee bit last week, didn't I? Where I was saying, I don't know how I would feel if it was the other way around. I would just, trophy count for me would probably be the main thing. And then if there was a byproduct of some betterment for Scottish football, that would be the second thing. Helping them wouldn't be in my top 100 things, but that's just a consequential byproduct, I think, of what that looks like. But that helps us out a wee bit, certainly financially helps us out a wee bit. That might actually go to pay some of the £1.3 million of damage that they did at Ibrox there. So we'll see. Who said we couldn't get along? Thank you very much to the entire football institution over there in the East End. Oh my God. But that's the way it's worked out. So, it could have been worse. I think Europa is the level that we like to navigate at, apart from this past season there, of course, which was an absolute disaster. So we will see what that looks like. And I mean, there is still more fallout from the season. Obviously, the KMI panel is one part of that. And then last week, who was it? The SFA that did a press release last week. There was some confidential meetings held. Hearts made a statement, not talking about the confidential meetings. And Hearts said, "We've asked for clarification. This is where it's at, and we await the findings." And then the Scottish FA came out and says, "Well, if they're going to break a confidence about the confidential meetings, then we'll do the exact same." So we just fumble and bumble and mumble on with, lies being told. Honestly, it feels like lies being told regarding the end of the game at Sharkhead on the last game of the domestic season, where the game was... I mean, he never said we have to abandon the game. You've seen the audio. You might have seen where the referee was like, "Are they coming back?" "Oh, well, the Hearts manager said he fears for the players." I mean, I guess you're going to fear for your players if you get thousands of rampant Neanderthals running towards them, assaulting them at the exact same time. So, he then just calls the game to a halt. Now, that's the referee's discretion to do that. And then afterwards, they're like, "Well, wait a minute, we can't call it an abandonment. If we call it an abandonment, that means it's something different. And then we need to do something else." It's just beyond a joke. It's making the narrative after the fact suit the behaviours that happened in of the moment. And we've seen it so many times, and I don't want to be talking about this sort of stuff, folks. I really don't. But it's so blatantly, obviously incompetent. John Brown said corrupt at the end of last season, and he's not wrong. I mean, it doesn't look like he's wrong. I think the corruption is almost like the symptom of what's happening, but there's a deeper root cause there, isn't there? It's almost akin to what Andrew Kavanagh spoke about in terms of Rangers. There's something underlying at Rangers for us to go through what we went through particularly since 2012, and end up in a situation where we have this underlying philosophy, this underlying mentality, this underlying these underlying practices and processes and methodologies that all lead themselves to not really truly being winners. We have the odd opportunity to win, but we're not winners. It's not in our DNA like it used to be back in the 90s and early 2000s. And I think that's really the exact same from a footballing authority's perspective, where there's something inherently deep down that, one, they don't really know how to identify it. Two, they possibly don't think there's actually anything going wrong. And three, even if they did know that something was going wrong and they didn't know how to identify it, they have no idea where to even start to try to dissect exactly what it is, to investigate what that looks like, and then to come up with some recommendations about how to make it better. And by the way, when I say make it better, I just want it to be a fair, level, open playing field. I've said that for a number of months, and that's all we want. May the best team win. And if it's not us, it's not us. And then that would be down to us rather than us having this blame game situation that is not of our doing, by the way. Nothing to do with us. 3 pitch invasions in 3 weeks, a game abandoned or brought prematurely to an end, and a penalty that never should have been. VAR never even should have taken him over to the monitor. Like, I mean, come on. And this is, by the way, just in the last 3-4 weeks of the season. And then you extrapolate that over the rest of the season, get what you get. And that's what we got. So do you know what I thought about? Here's one last wee thing, right? I was reading Sky Sports this morning. I like Sky Sports as my main go-to website. And there was I can't remember the exact, I think it was called the Enhanced Games, where there was this athletics event in Las Vegas. And the event was, if you want to use performance-enhancing drugs, you can do that, no problem at all. We're going to try and break some world records here. If you break a world record, you get $1 million, or maybe it was exponential through the various events. Maybe it wasn't $1 million for every single one. But the one I was reading was the 100 meters, and this guy didn't break the 100 meter record. And even then, it wouldn't have stood anyway because it wasn't a fully sanctioned event. But the point being, forget all these rules and forget all fair play in sport. You can take whatever you want to take and then just come and compete here, and we'll have a great time together. And I thought, one of my first thoughts, no joke whatsoever, was now that's where that mob from the East End would excel in an environment that's known and already corrupt and anything goes. Then you're in a kind of reality show where they can do all their underhanded things and they would just be the exact same as everyone else who's there. So, yeah, it's a slow news day. I start off with some things that are a wee bit topical because we don't have any games to talk about. Or do I take this opportunity to talk about the women's team? No, I'm going to save you from that for just a wee bit here, and I'll do it when I do the game segment, as I usually do for the women's team, which is in the communication section a wee bit later. So let's go straight to the shout-outs, and unfortunately it's a sad one today. I'm going to read out a message that was sent by Andy Burnett from Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club, and it says, sadly today, this was sent, I believe it was on Saturday, to the NARSA WhatsApp group. Sadly today, Toronto Midtown RSC lost our friend Kieran K. Meaney. Kay was a founding member of our club and our first landlord at the Bow and Arrow pub. He later became president of the club. He will also be remembered for hosting our club curry nights and summer barbecues in his backyard in the early days. Many kegs were emptied at these events. Isn't that the way? Also leading the charge for our bus trips to Rangers at Skydome, TFC games, etc. Great times and happy memories. Our deepest condolences to his wife Paula and all his friends and family. And there's subsequently been a real outpouring of condolences on the WhatsApp group for Kay there. Just a shame, when you get situations like that. I mean, it's always terrible when someone dies, and it's terrible when someone that like and love that passes away at the same time, and then you have that poignancy to be able to really look back on some of the tremendous memories that were co-created, and having that person at the core of that is just so poignant. And hopefully that's in some way, some sort of solace for the Toronto Midtown Rangers Supporters Club members and of course Paula and all the family and friends as mentioned. So of course from NARSA, from myself personally, from the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary, we extend our sincere condolences to everyone involved. Then moving on to more Rangers-related stuff, that is back by popular demand. The Rangers Ladies Lunch is back this year. It's going to be on Friday, August the 21st, and it's sponsored or presented by Harrods Beauty Products. The tickets are £75 per person, and what you get for that is a blue carpet and a glass of fizz, a delicious two-course meal. They're not going to say that it's a kind of mediocre or an average or a crap two-course meal, are they? Special guest appearances, live music, entertainment, and our own Rangers DJ to keep everything going. Not NARSA's own, of course. That means Rangers' own. And then there's there's going to be a deluxe gift bag that's going to have exclusive treats from Harrods Beauty there. So tickets are on sale now. They actually went on sale last week. There was a pre-sale last week. I guess I must have missed this one last week. There was a pre-sale last week, and then it was being open to the public. It's still on the site right now, so I assume it's not sold out just yet. So trying to sell anything Rangers other than season tickets, which went well because of the timing. Well done on that, Rangers, to get all that in before the monumental collapse happened. But selling anything Rangers, selling anything NARSA is a very, very difficult thing to do right now. I was actually chatting with my love Erin yesterday and talking about how to really, what would you say, manifest an appropriate, collective bonding relationship between the club and the fans on this continent in North America. And, we're kind of lamenting the fact that sometimes it's a tight relationship, sometimes it's a kind of distant relationship. It really depends. I talked about this last week. It depends on the winds of change at the club in terms of the personnel that are there, but just in what the club is actually experiencing and of the moment. And then as I was kind of talking for a wee while, and then I just came to the realization we just need to win. Like, that's what we want to do. Nobody from here is going to be inspired to be following a losing team, regardless of the historical or heritage, legacy bond that they have with that, or affiliation that they have with that. So the team needs to start winning first and foremost, and winning consistently. Then we have a platform for some sort of product enhancement to be able to say, let's bond this relationship going forward. That's easy for me to say, but that's what we need to do. We need to start winning. And then if we start winning, if we ended the season tremendously well with some silverware, then the ladies' lunch would probably have been sold out by now. Who knows? On to Destination NARSA, or the NARSA convention, or Nashville 2026, whatever you want to call it. It is now 16 days. Oh no, 16 days and 2 weeks until Nashville 2026. That is, of course, the 11th to the 14th of June. We are really, really in the final throes of the planning. We have another planning meeting. I think it's tomorrow or Wednesday, maybe this week. I can't remember exactly, maybe tomorrow. And we are going to go through the final parts of that. Obviously, we have our AGM coming up here, not this weekend, the weekend after. And we will get through that and then get on with the final preparations and planning for the event. If you have waited until the last minute to get your tickets, thank you very much for considering coming along. Next time, please book them a wee bit earlier. It really helps us know and understand and plan properly for the amount of guests that we have going there. And we are doing very well in ticket sales, so we're going to have a fantastic event there. Just a reminder, we have 9 in a row legends: Derek Ferguson, we have Scott Nisbet, we have David Robertson, and we have Mark Walters. We have our MC, David Edgar. We have DJ Angry Bear, Stuart Hay from The Journey Back, David Mason doing his story of Rangers, of Rebecca Auchterlonie doing a number of different Rangers and country stints during the event. And we also have Danny Magic doing some magic tricks for us on the Thursday evening, I believe that is. From the club, we have Fraser Thornton, we have Jim Gillespie, and we have our supporter liaison officer Greg Marshall also joining us as well. Also, we have the Top Golf. The Top Golf is definitely going ahead now, so we have that for sale. If you haven't booked that yet, please do so. We are going to have some fun that morning, so much so that Colin, who is our DJ, or I should say DJ Angry Bear, I want to give him his stage name properly there, was asking if we can take a speaker to the Top Golf event. I don't know what he's got planned, but that was just an ask this morning, so I guess we'll find that out. I imagine we'd be able to tap into their system and maybe do some things in their system. I don't know how sophisticated it is. I've never done a Top Golf event, so we will see what that looks like, but that looks like that's going to be a fun morning. And remember that the soft drinks and appetizers and the golf, of course, and some help from a professional is going to be part of the gig. And there will also be, the bar will also be open, so you can have a couple of beers as well. And that's what I absolutely intend to do there then. And we will have some VIPs that will be joining us as well there, so you'll get a chance to rub shoulders in a wee bit more of an intimate setting. It's already going to be an intimate setting, but this is going to be even more intimate. And just a reminder that the Friday night is a Western themed night. So if you have a cowboy hat, if you have a checked shirt or a cowboy shirt, or cowboy skirt, cowboy jeans, chaps, boots, whatever it looks like, ideally no green at all at the event whatsoever, and come along and we'll have that Friday night being the Western night there for the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet night there. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, from another business perspective, we do have the AGM the week before it. So as a NARSA member club, you will be receiving the financials, you'll be receiving the agenda, you'll be receiving the minutes from the previous meeting prior to the meeting that you can distribute to your membership and come along. And there are a couple of motions for changes to the Constitution that are on the table that are very material to our ongoing operations as well. One related to the presidency of the association, the other one related to the membership status as well. So two big ones here. So there'll be an opportunity to have some dialogue in and around that too. On to the communication section. Oh, this is where I need to talk about the women's team. And I usually enjoy talking about the women's team, but when I tell you what I'm going to tell you, you're going to realise why I'm a wee bit hesitant on this particular occasion. So you might remember, if you're a regular listener, last week we had clawed our way back to a point where we were 2 points behind the Hearts at the top of the table and 1 goal better off. And what we needed was Hibs to beat Hearts, defending champions at Hibs at the time, to beat Hearts on the final game of the season, and for us to record any sort of win away to Glasgow City. So 2 difficult games, granted from that perspective. Hibs did their job and they beat Hearts 2-0 on the final game of the season. So they must have been sweating buckets. They didn't, they being Hearts, that is, they didn't have to bother because Rangers got absolutely battered 6-0. 6-0 on the last game of the season to lose the league title by 2 points. Took it to the last game, which is kind of monumental in and of itself because the season was such a roller coaster. Lots and lots of changes for Leanne Crichton's squad across the course of the season. And there was a lot of toing and froing, especially when they had the split for the last 10 games. And they just, could you imagine? I mean, I don't know. I don't follow the women's team that much in terms of, watching games or anything, but I keep on top of what they're doing and how they're doing, primarily for the podcast, but also because it's topical and women's football is a very popular sport in North America, and it's good to see us doing successful things across any facet of the club. And I just know how I think I would feel if we were to blow it like that on the last game of the season. My understanding is, I read the match report and it was kind of vague, but my understanding was it was 3-0 at half time and then 3-0. They lost 3-0 again in the second half to make it 6-0 in total. I can't imagine how they're feeling. And here's a challenge. They play that mob from the East End in the Scottish Cup final this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. at Hampden. So that's going to be a difficult one. I mean, they've obviously battered them 4-0 in the penultimate weekend there, so they should go in using that type and style of confidence there. But to really blow it on the final game of the season, I mean, if you look at what success criteria looks like, it has to be, they've qualified for the Champions League. I imagine that would have been the target, the Champions League qualification, I should say. That would have been the target at the beginning of the season, but you want to win the championship. But when you look at it, they got to the Sky Sports Cup final, took it to the last game of the season, and are in the Scottish Cup final. So, I mean, they're certainly challenging at the higher echelons of the women's game, but not converting, certainly not in the Sky Sports Cup, getting beat by Glasgow City, getting pipped to the post. Is it fair to say that? It doesn't feel like it with a 6-0 defeat in the last game of the season and a chance to win the trophy. So again, there's something underlying there that we need to be able to convert that into dominance and convert that into championships going forward. And hopefully Leanne Crichton and the team can take it home on Sunday, and then build up to and into the Champions League qualifiers and hopefully more successes for next season and onwards. It's a tough gig to do that. Obviously never meant it. No one expected that. And it's a hell of a shame. So Hearts it on the last game of the season and yet still came out the champions. That's an Edinburgh double for them as they go forward. And nothing else on the Gers guide as at the time of recording. Right now for me it's 10:35 a.m. So I thought I would sneak this in between some meetings today to get this out a wee bit earlier than we did last year. And saying that, Colin actually did say that he wouldn't be doing the advertising until tomorrow because it is Memorial Day down in the States. I'll get it on YouTube, I'll get it on the podcast platforms. Hopefully you get access to it when you want it. And in terms of other news on the communication front, there was an announcement. When was that now? Yesterday. I initially saw it on LinkedIn. Actually, I'm an active user of LinkedIn, and there is now a call for new members of the fan advisory board for Rangers. So I'm going to read this out if you don't mind here. It says, we are recruiting for some new members of our fan advisory board at Rangers this summer, the only one of its kind in Scotland. It's an influential group involved regularly in meetings with the club to discuss policy, face into challenges and put some structure around all the issues that are important to our fans. There is a fair amount of commitment involved, from the formal meetings to the discussions that happen every week and the working groups that look at things in more detail. And while the conversations can very often be challenging, it is one of the most rewarding parts of my job to work with them over the course of the season. Now, this was from Greg Mailer. This was the actual LinkedIn post that he put out there. So it says, you'd be joining a group of Rangers fans who just want the best for Rangers. Applications open on Monday, and the key dates are, now I got the key dates from the Rangers website. The key dates are, the applications open today, the Monday, the 25th of May. They close on Friday, the 12th of June. So who knows, maybe we could have a conversation about it at Destination NARSA down in Nashville there, because the nominations close on the Friday of the event. The shortlist is going to be set by the 30th of June, so just over a couple of weeks of deliberations on the Rangers side there. Interviews will be held on Thursday the 9th of July, and there's actually 3 sets of interviews: Thursday the 9th of July, Tuesday the 14th, and Wednesday the 15th of July, and the new board will be in place for the start of the 2026-2027 season. So if you are interested in that type and style of thing, I did the official fans board, what was that, 10, 11, 12 years ago, something like that now. And despite it being, I mean, if you think about where we were at in 2012 and 2013, it was a very, very difficult job, and but met some great people and still keep in touch with some today. And it was a great concept, a great opportunity, just not the right time. And it basically ended up collapsing in and of itself, and it ended up with me getting a legal letter from Rangers saying, you better hand back every single bit of collateral. It was like, like emails and such like that, or you could potentially face legal action. Thanks, Rangers. All I wanted to do was help. So that was a situation, but the fan advisory board are doing some great things. They published minutes of the previous meeting. They get a chance to regularly liaise with the club. And if you have the time, you have the effort, you have the energy, and you have the skill set to do that, I would thoroughly recommend putting yourself forward and seeing if you can help. I used to always say, especially as things were getting worse on the fans board that I was on, and there was calls for resignations and stuff like that. It says I can't help from the outside. So I can stand at the side and boo and hiss and jeer, or I could get inside and actually find out what we're trying to do, communicate as much as possible, and contribute as much as possible as well. So if that's your jam, then go ahead and get that done, and you'll get to see all the information on the Rangers website there. And there was some more. I guess they wanted to wait till the full season was finished, but there was some more collateral came out in terms of thanking James Tavernier, former captain James Tavernier, for his service to the club. And I did watch the YouTube thing yesterday, which was basically a whole bunch of highlights of him, on the visual part, and then it sounded like voicemails, but maybe it was taken from previous videos, but a whole bunch of folks from his tenure just thanking him for his professionalism, for his camaraderie, for his leadership, for his contribution to the club over time, and some heavy hitters there. It's about 6 minutes long if you get a chance to watch it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely incredible to see that. And the article on the Rangers website that introduces that says, after 11 remarkable years at Rangers, the curtain has now come down on Captain James Tavernier's time at the club following the end of the season. Tavernier was presented with a commemorative plate by Rangers legend John Gregg, CBE, in recognition of his outstanding service, leadership and contribution through his time at Ibrox. He guided the club through some unforgettable moments, including a 55th league title and the incredible journey to the UEFA League final in Seville. The right back, who joined Rangers in July 2015, incredibly, made a phenomenal 565 appearances, scoring 144 goals in that time. Tavernier served as club captain for the past 8 years and was inducted into the Rangers Hall of Fame in 2023. Everyone at Rangers wishes James and his family all the very best for the future. I echo that sentiment and look forward to seeing where he goes, and looking forward to seeing what happens for Rangers as we move forward. As of recording right now, I checked it just before I started recording. There is no further update on the Lawrence Shankland situation as to whether he's coming to Ibrox or not. It's looking very likely that he is. So welcome aboard to him. It's always good to have Rangers fans there, and the proven goal scorer, and especially after the events of the last game of the season, or the last month of the season, who will hopefully have the same level of disdain for our rivals in the East End as we all do. And that maybe speaks to some of the Andrew Kavanagh points that he made last week, I should say, where he said, we need leaders in the room, and we'll lean towards Scottish leaders, but if it's not them, we still need leaders. It doesn't need to be only the captain that's doing leading. And I'm paraphrasing, that's my words, not his words. So we'll see. Maybe by this time next week, it sounds like it's kind of imminent, but you never know until it's done. It's not done. So we'll see what that looks like. Don't forget to like and subscribe at our socials, NARSA Comms. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe at our YouTube channel as well. That would be very, very much appreciated. I'm going to try and get some guest content between now and next in next week. I keep saying that. I don't know that it's going to be material to ticket sales at this point, but trying to lock in schedules becomes a wee bit difficult to do. But if I can get some 10 or 15-minute slots, I'll put some stuff out there as well. So that'll do it for this week, my friends. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen or watch. And as always, please do share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. And until next week, I guess we'll see if Shankland becomes a Rangers player and if anyone else follows him through the door to get some business done early and give us something a wee bit more tangible to look forward to for next season and beyond. Until next week, please do take care of yourself and all the very best. Okay, follow.